Hello! Today we are going to look at how to use gerunds and infinitives. The lecture will be in three parts. In the first part, we will concentrate on the verbs followed by a gerund or an infinitive with a change in their meaning. Now, please look at this following text. The text explains how modern cars make life easy for their owners. Read the text and underline the gerunds and infinitives. You can pause the video here. Yes, let's look at the gerunds and infinitives together. Right, so all the gerunds and the infinitives in this text are the following ones. Now, in this text, there is a verb after which both a gerund and infinitive are used. Which verb is it? Please go back to the text and find that verb. You can pause the video here. Yes, you got it. The verb is try. There are some verbs followed by a gerund and an infinitive with a difference in meaning. Here are the most common ones. Try. Try doing something. It means make an experiment or test to see if it works. He tried sending flowers as an apology, but it didn't have any effect. Try adding some more sugar. That may make it taste better. So there are different alternatives. You try different ones to see if they work or not. Try to do something is make an effort to do something difficult. I tried to move the table, but it was too heavy. Our second verb is remember. Remember doing something is remember what one has done or what has happened. I remember locking the door. I'm sure I've locked the door and I remember this. Remember doing means you remember something that happened in the past. Remember to do something is remember what one has or had to do. I remembered to lock the door before I left home. I remembered that I had to lock the door. So, when you remember to do something, you remember to perform a responsibility, duty, or task. Our next verb is forget. Forget doing something is forget what one has done or what has happened. I'll never forget seeing the Queen. I have seen the Queen and I'll never forget this. Did you forget meeting Bill? You met Bill before. Did you forget this? Forget doing something is, in other words, you forget something that happened in the past. Forget to do is forget what one has or had to do. Don't forget to give her my letter. Don't forget that you have to give my letter to her. So, when you forget to do something, you forget to perform a responsibility, duty, or task. I forgot to do my homework. I forgot that I had to do my homework, so I didn't do it. Our next verb is regret. Regret doing something is to be sorry for what one did in the past. I regret leaving the firm for a better job. I left the firm for a better job, but it was a mistake. So first you left your job and then later you realized that it was not such a good idea and you felt sorry about your decision. regret to do something, be sorry to say, announce, tell somebody, inform somebody of some bad news. We regret to inform you that we are not able to offer you the job. We are sorry that we cannot offer you the job. Another verb that is followed either by a gerund or an infinitive is stop. Stop doing something. Stop what one does or is doing. I must stop smoking. When he told me the story, I just couldn't stop laughing. Stop to do something. Make a break or pause in order to do something else. On the way to the station, I stopped to buy a newspaper. Every half an hour, he stopped to smoke. The next verb is go on doing something. Continue what one has been doing. The president paused for a moment and went on talking. He paused and then continued talking. Go on to do something is begin a new action immediately, move on to something new. He welcomed the new students and went on to explain the school regulations. He welcomed the students and then started to explain the regulations. Right. The next verb is mean. Mean doing something means have a particular result. If we want to catch the 7:30 train, that will mean leaving the house at 6 o'clock. Mean to do something is intend to do something. Sorry, I did not mean to hurt your feelings. I did not intend to hurt your feelings. I did not want to. I did not plan to do that. Another verb is need doing something. This means something needs to be done. They have both passive meaning actually. So you can say the walls need painting. This is passive. Or the walls need to be painted. This is also passive. Need to do something is, be careful, different. It means something is necessary. I need to take more exercise. It is necessary for me to take exercise. It is like have to, maybe we could say. Now, in this task, could you please write the correct form and discuss the different meanings of the verbs? Now, also there are some verbs followed by both gerunds and infinitives with little or no difference in meaning. Begin, start, continue. Love, like, hate, can't bear. Prefer, intend, bother. These are the verbs. So, if we look at some examples, personally, I prefer working or prefer to work early in the morning. They have both the same meaning. Some people hate working or hate to work early in the morning. I like to get up. I like getting up early in the morning. It began to rain or began raining. He continued working or continued to work after his illness. Okay, in our next part of the lecture, we will look at different forms of gerunds and infinitives. Okay, in the second part of the lecture, we are going to look at the different forms of gerunds and infinitives. Note how we use infinitives and gerunds in different forms. Gerunds and infinitives have passive forms. Passive gerunds, being done. Passive infinitive, to be done. What do I mean by this? Now let's look at some examples. I don't like being laughed at by other people. I don't like other people's laughing at me. The first sentence is in passive form, and the sentence in the parentheses is in active form. So please pay attention to the use of being and verb 3 when you form passive gerunds. So after like, I need verb ing. So if you want to form a passive form, you have to use being and then verb 3. She avoided being seen by her friends. This is a passive sentence. And in the parentheses, we have the active sentence. She didn't want her friends to see her. So how you do this is, you write your subject and your main verb, avoid, and then you change the rest of the sentence into a passive form. So after avoid, I need verb ing. That's why I have to use being and then verb 3, and then we have our passive form. I don't mind being kept waiting. I don't mind people keeping me waiting. So I don't mind, you write your sentence. Now after mind, I need ing. That's why I use being and then verb 3 and then the rest of the sentence. Now what about passive infinitives? Let's look at the examples. I did not expect to be invited by John. This is passive form. And in the parentheses, I did not expect John to invite me is an active sentence. So after expect, I need an infinitive form. That's why I have to use the verb to be and then verb 3 to form a passive sentence. The report needs to be written in ink. It is necessary that the report is written in ink. So after need, I use the verb to be and then verb 3 to form the passive sentence. And the last example is, I want to be told the truth. I want you to tell me the truth. So this is my active sentence. I want you to tell me the truth. I just start my sentence and I say I want, and then the rest of the sentence I change to form a passive form. So you see, I want, after want, I need an infinitive form. So I use to be and then verb 3. Now let's look at some examples. Could you please rewrite the following sentences as in the examples before? Infinitives have a continuous form too. Be careful, the same form could express either present continuous or past continuous. Let's look at continuous infinitive. To be doing. The children seem to be sleeping. It seems that the children are sleeping now. Joe appeared to be enjoying his new job. It appeared that Joe was enjoying his new job. Rewrite the following sentences as in the examples above. Gerunds and infinitives have perfect forms. The perfect forms are used to describe a time earlier than that of the main verb. Perfect gerund, having done, but present form is also possible. Jill admits having stolen or stealing the money. Jill admits that she has stolen the money. I remember having seen or seeing her before. I remember that I have seen her before. Perfect infinitive, to have done. You seem to have lost weight. It seems that you lost or have lost weight. Sally pretended to have finished the report. Sally pretended that she had finished the report. Now rewrite the following sentences as in the examples before. I'm sorry for having caused so many problems for you. Now remember, after prepositions we use gerunds, but there's a time difference between these two verbs. The fact that I am sorry and that I caused trouble, there's a time difference. So I use this by using perfect infinitive or perfect gerund. Now here for, so I need perfect gerund. In the second example, he was found guilty of having killed thousands of people. Again, after prepositions, we need a gerund. So, but there's a time difference between these two verbs, being found guilty and killing thousands of people. That's why I use perfect gerund. You were lucky to have left the island before the tsunami hit. Here, after adjectives, remember, we use infinitives. That's why I need a perfect infinitive here. He seems to have been a great athlete. After seem, I need infinitive. That's why I use perfect infinitive in this example. Now, gerunds and infinitives have perfect passive forms too. So, how do we form perfect passive gerund? Having been done. I appreciate having been told the news. I appreciate that I was told, I have been told the news. Jim mentioned having been offered the job. Jim mentioned that he had been offered the job. Remember, we use perfect infinitives and perfect gerunds when there is a time difference between the two main verbs. So, I appreciate is present, but I was told or I have been told is showing you that there's a time difference. So, I have to use perfect gerund in this example. Jim mentioned having been offered the job. After mention, I need a gerund form, but there's a time difference, so I use gerund perfect and also passive form. So it's going to be Jim mentioned having been offered the job. What about perfect passive infinitive? This is to have been done. Liz is fortunate to have been given a scholarship. She is fortunate because she has already been given or she was given a scholarship. Tom was happy to have been given the award. Tom was happy because he had been given the award. So, remember, after fortunate is adjective, I need an infinitive form, but there is a time difference between these two parts, so I have to use perfect infinitive. And also, this is a passive sentence because she has been given or she was given a scholarship, so I need to use perfect passive infinitive in this example. So now, can you please rewrite the following sentences as in the examples before? After claim, I need infinitive. There is a time difference. Look, claimed past tense, had been beaten past perfect tense. So I have to show this time difference using perfect form, and then it's also passive. So in my answer, I have to use perfect passive infinitive form. Disappointed. After this, this is an adjective, so after this, I need an infinitive form. And then there's a time difference because I am disappointed that I haven't been considered for the award. So I have to use perfect and then infinitive. Also, there is this passive thing, so not to have been considered for the award. After resent, I need ing, so I need to use perfect gerund, also passive form. So having been, verb 3. After about, this is a preposition. After prepositions, we need gerunds. And then there's a time difference. Look, was injured. She tells us about it. So I need to use perfect gerund. And there is this passive in the sentence. So I have to use having been injured badly in the war. Alright, now there are certain verbs followed by an infinitive without to or gerund. This brings us to the third part of the lecture. These are verbs of perception. After verbs of perception, which are see, notice, watch, observe, feel, smell, hear. These are verbs of perception. We can say somebody, and then we can either use infinitive without to or gerund. Now, why sometimes we use infinitive without to and we sometimes use gerund? We'll see this in the next slide. Now, we saw him cut the grass. This means we saw the whole event from the start to finish. We saw him cutting the grass, however, means he was in the middle of doing it. So, let's complete these sentences using a gerund or an infinitive without to. Keep in mind, if you see the event from the beginning to the end, you use infinitive without to. But if you see only a part of the action, you use gerund. So, have a look at these sentences. You can pause the video here. Now the answers. Now let's look at the following verbs: make, let, have. You already know that after these verbs we use just verb 1 without to. And then we have get. After get, you use to verb 1. Now, the teacher made the students stay in the classroom during the break. This is an active sentence. The students were made to stay in the classroom during the break. This is a passive sentence. So please pay attention. In the active sentence, after make, we just use verb without to, verb 1 without to. But interestingly, in the passive form, we use to stay, infinitive with to this time. So please pay attention to this. Now, I had the secretary type the report and I got the secretary to type the report. They have the same meaning, but after have somebody do something, we use infinitive without to. But if you use get as your verb, then you use get somebody to do something in the active sentences. Now, what about the passive forms of these? I had the report typed by the secretary, or I got the report typed by the secretary. These are the passive forms and they have the same meaning. Right. So, have or get something done can be used for both intentional and unintentional actions. So, I have had my house painted. This is intentional. Somebody painted for you. I am going to have my car washed. This is again intentional. Someone will wash it for me. I had my watch stolen last week. This is unintentional, obviously. My watch was stolen. And he had his nose broken in a fight. Again, this is unintentional. His nose was broken in a fight. So keep this in mind as well.